I swear I only meant to retire in peace. At 68, after a lifetime of raising kids, burying a husband, and working shifts so long they'd make a mule kneel in sympathy, I thought I'd finally earned something quiet. Something green. Something mine. So I bought a little house tucked deep in the woods. A dream. A sanctuary. And then my daughter-in-law tried to move her parents into it. Without asking me. What happened next, people still whisper about it at family gatherings. Let me tell you everything in my own words. When I first stepped onto that patch of forest land, something in me loosened. Like the world had been gripping me by the collar and finally let go. Tall pines swayed above like slow dancers. The breeze smelled like moss and childhood. The cabin itself, though new, had that old soul-feeling buildings sometimes get when they're loved. I put every last bit of my savings into it. A lifetime of careful budgeting, hoarding little bits of joy for later. This was my later. My son, Daniel, was supportive, at least at first. "Mom, you deserve it," he told me. "You've given enough." His wife, however, let me be polite. Melissa was the kind of woman who smiled with her teeth, not her eyes. Always calculating. Always watching. And always needing to control every room she walked into. Still, I tried. I tried for my son. I tried for the grandkids. I tolerated her little jabs, her comments about old-fashioned ways, her passive-aggressive notes about improving my habits. But what she did with the house? That crossed a line. I was living in the cabin for barely 2 months when it happened. I was baking bread that morning. Kneading dough, humming, enjoying a quiet that didn't feel lonely for once. Then my phone buzzed. Daniel's name. Perfect timing, I'd been wanting to invite the kids over for the weekend. But his tone wasn't the friendly one I expected. "Mom," he said, "Melissa wants to talk to you." My stomach dropped. Whenever he said that sentence, it meant I was about to hear something ridiculous. She didn't disappoint. "Patricia," she began, sweetness dripping like spoiled honey, "we've been thinking. My parents want to move closer to us, and your house in the woods is perfect for them." I laughed. I genuinely thought it was a joke. "My house?" I said. "You mean this house?" "Yes," she replied, as if she was asking me to borrow a teaspoon. "You don't need something that big anyway. It would be such a help." I told her no. A firm no. A no backed by decades of swallowing things I didn't want to. She hung up without saying goodbye. I should have known then that the storm had only begun forming. 4 days later, I came home from the grocery store to find a giant rental truck in my driveway. At first, I froze. At my age, you learn to trust your gut, and mine was already screaming. 2 strangers, an older couple, were standing at my front door, smiling politely at me like I was the intruder. Melissa's parents. "Patricia." Her mother chirped. "You're early." "Early?" I repeated. "For what?" "To let us in," her father said, lifting a box labeled kitchen. I swear for a moment I thought I was trapped in some hidden camera prank show. "My son said you agreed," her mother added. "He said you were excited about losing the only peaceful thing I'd had in years? About being pushed aside like an old piece of furniture." And then I saw Melissa's car parking behind the truck. She walked toward us like a queen surveying her land. "Mom," she said to me, "don't make this harder." Harder. Harder. Like I was the problem. Like I hadn't earned the right to breathe in my own home. I didn't yell. I didn't throw a fit. I didn't even argue. I simply said, "This conversation is over." And I went inside my home, locked the door, and stared at the walls as my hands shook. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I planned. If they thought I was old, weak, and easy to push around, they were going to learn just how wrong they were. The next morning, I made phone calls. Quiet ones. Clever ones. Legal ones. See, Melissa thought because I was retired and soft-spoken, I didn't understand property law. But she didn't know I'd worked for 32 years as a real estate office manager. Titles, deeds, occupancy rules, this was my language. I knew exactly what to do. First, I called my lawyer. Second, I called the county building department. Third, I called an old friend who owed me a favor. By noon, my plan was set. By evening, I let Melissa think she'd won. When she called, smug, self-satisfied, I didn't argue. I simply said, "We'll talk this weekend." She took the bait. Predators always underestimate prey that plays dead. Saturday morning came like any other. I made tea. I wore a cozy sweater. I opened the windows. I baked muffins. The peaceful domestic scene probably confused Melissa when she arrived with her parents and Daniel. "Mom," Daniel said softly, "we just want what's best for everyone." "Good," I replied. "I do too. Come inside." They did. Every one of them. All smiles of victory. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice calm as I walked them into the living room. Before anything else, I said, "I have a few papers that need signing." Melissa rolled her eyes. "Patricia, we're just talking about moving." "Yes," I said, "and since this affects my home, you'll need to agree to a few things first." I handed each of them a packet. They didn't know it yet, but inside those packets were a formal notice stating that no one was permitted to occupy my home without a signed rental agreement. A copy of state laws regarding illegal occupancy and forced housing arrangements. A statement acknowledging I had not granted permission for anyone to move in. A legal warning drafted by my lawyer stating that any further attempts to pressure me could be considered harassment and coercion. Melissa's smile wavered. Her parents began whispering. Daniel read each page slowly, color draining from his face. "What is this?" Melissa hissed. "Protection," I answered simply. "Mom," Daniel whispered, "did you really call a lawyer?" "Yes," I said. "And the county?" "And the sheriff's office." "You called the sheriff?" Melissa snapped. "Yes," I said, "to let them know that trespassers might attempt to enter my property without consent." Her mother set her packet down like it had burned her. Then came the best part. I pulled out the final stack of papers. A recording device. An envelope. A county seal. "Yesterday," I said, "I filed for a protective housing order. It states, legally and clearly, that no one can occupy or move items into this home without my direct, written approval. Violations come with mandatory fines." Melissa's mouth dropped. Her father spoke first. "We had no idea." "I know," I told him softly. "You were manipulated too." Melissa spun on him. "Dad. Don't." But Daniel interrupted her. "Melissa. What did you tell them?" Silence. A long, guilty silence. Then he turned to me. "Mom. I'm so sorry." "And Melissa," she stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. The house shook. But I didn't. You'd think that would have been enough. Most people would have slunk away, dignity bruised but intact. Not Melissa. 2 days later, she messaged me demanding an apology for embarrassing her. So I sent her one final thing. A copy of the formal harassment report I had filed. Nothing more. Nothing less. She didn't speak to me for a month. Daniel, ashamed of how easily had been manipulated, apologized over and over. We rebuilt. Slowly, gently. Her parents, sweet people caught in the crossfire, sent me a gift basket and a heartfelt letter. But Melissa? She finally learned that I wasn't some fragile ornament she could place where she liked. I was the foundation. And you don't move a foundation. Not without consequences. So that's what happened. That's how a 68-year-old woman, who just wanted peace in her woods cabin, found herself outsmarting a controlling daughter-in-law with a moving truck and a dangerous sense of entitlement. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I didn't stoop to her level. I simply used the truth, the law, and a lifetime of knowing when to stand my ground. And if my story teaches anything, it's this: don't underestimate someone just because they're quiet, retired, or old enough to nap twice a day. Sometimes the softest step belongs to the person who knows exactly where to place their feet.